Okay, so no Gobi documents as of now, because I'm disconnected again. If you want to look at the spec, can you, are you on ASIC? Can you pass the link to the spec, please?
Sure.
Just go to UDS, to the schedule.
Okay.
So it's package, yeah. So it's package selection dash desktop dash n dash square one behavior for apps in messaging menu.
This is the link.
Okay, nice. So if you want to see, I have put some text in the blueprint already. In fact, the status is that in Maverick for Wismanbox we have done some patches to it to follow MPT spec, which is when music is playing, when you try to close Wismanbox, it's hiding it. You don't have it in the tray as well. It's really hidden, it's not organized, and you can still get it back by the sound menu, which makes sense. And when Wismanbox is not playing, so when it's paused or stopped, when you click on close, it's indeed closing Wismanbox because that's why you want to do. So we have that for the sound menu, it's great. I didn't catch that on the spec. You want to have the same behavior with file close. File close should do the same, you confirm? Okay.
Always the same as the close button.
Always the same as the close button. So yeah, that's a tiny patch, and even if we maybe move to Benchy, we will do the same in Benchy.
Is there a file quit?
No.
So if I'm playing music, the only way to quit the rhythm box is to pause it, then quit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking.
I don't know if you see another question on that. If you want to quit Wismanbox.
When you set control key to quit? There's no quit option in the global menu. That's what we're saying. Unless the application.
There's nothing specific about the global menu. It's rhythm boxes menus in general.
Right. Because in this case it has no quit.
The idea behind the sound menu is that sound becomes service rather than something that you launch and quit. So whether rhythm box is being hidden or what is visible or not is independent of whether music is playing.
So should we see also your email software like Evolution and stuff like that as a service as well? Should we have the same behavior so that when you close Evolution, it doesn't really close, but it's hiding instead, so that I can get notification for new emails?
So
No, because that's not something you are playing or not. It's not something where there is a state where you are checking for email and a state where you're not.
But you could argue that, I'm not sure, but you could argue that you're still receiving emails
Yeah,
during that time.
yeah, but you can't choose not to.
exactly.
Sure.
I mean,
So now if you get to the bottom of it, you can also argue that emails are asynchronous mechanisms. That is, you can receive emails even if you're not connected to your session, which means it's not a real service. Or sound is something that is related to your current session. So still, what you're saying, Didier, is that users have been confused by the behavior, which is different between the sound and the messaging menu.
Yeah, I had some discussion so in the French forum and also on a bug report on Unity when I just mentioned the ID, and there is a bug. I can find it again, but it was an unrelated bug and the discussion just slipped. And people was really excited about this ID apparently. So maybe they expect that. You know, they don't want that on the workspace to be minimized.
excited about what?
About the idea that if you click on close, it's hiding Evolution completely from the tray and from Alt-Tab and everything. Like Wismanbox is doing.
But you're still getting emails? So Islington has a fairly reasonable comment here on IRC, which is that if the user is away from their keyboard, and emails or notifications are still coming up. Is that a security issue?
Security issue.
No, not like a real security issue, but no.
If they haven't locked the desktop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone can just start a mail program.
Because you can launch again evolution
Right.
if it's
So-
in that case.
So it really just adds one layer of abstraction.
If you're getting incoming treasury notifications as well.
But if we try to see the problem not necessarily with the sound or the messaging menu, but in general, what we have in the sound and the messaging menu is launchers, right? And the confusion may come from the fact that they look the same. I mean, and the intention was that they should look the same, exactly the same, up to the running triangle, but the behavior is distinct. So either we think, well, that the behavior needs to be distinct because the user can understand the difference between sound and messaging, or maybe there is some hint we can provide to the user so that he's less confused about the different behavior.
Okay, so one issue with Rhythmbox's behavior right now is that when it's closed, the buttons to start playing music also disappear. So it isn't quite invisible to the user whether Rhythmbox is running or not.
The buttons to play music.
Yeah, so when Rhythmbox is open, you have a button to play and
Oh, right.
skip. If it closes transparently, that'll be confusing.
I think that's probably right. Yeah, so what I say instead is if the player is not running, or if it's running but has no active track, playback item should not be present. But the API should provide a way for a player to register a play action so that the play button can work even when the player is not running. Does any
I think this is okay, so can I move to the other session, but you can come back.
So
So eventually it should be possible for music players to leave those play boards, backboard buttons there, even when they're not running.
and you can use the desktop actions to implement that.
We're going to run into that a lot if we start running application lifecycles. We're going to run into that a lot if we start defining application lifecycles more precisely. Although Unity is moving to sort of a unified launcher and windowless, isn't it?
Oh, you're talking about how the launchers,
Yeah.
he's mentioning how the launcher acts like a window switcher and an application launcher.
Yeah.
That could affect us a little.
Yeah, we have,
That was another point.
yeah, we have application launchers both on the launcher itself and on indicator menus.
Yeah, well, yeah. In theory, the existence of the sound menu and the messaging menu means that you don't need to have music players or mail clients in the launcher.
Yeah.
Probably could,
But
but
you probably,
you probably will, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
but you want them there because you want all your window management stuff in the same area. Like,
Well, we don't, for example, have an internet connection item in the launcher because we treat that as a service.
definitely.
And so as a menu, the same thing with telling the time or accessing the calendar. Put that in the menu as well. So,
But when we have the Rhythmbox window visible, however, which becomes the case when you trigger it from the sound menu, then we do have an icon, even if it's not going to stay because it's not locked as a favorite. But so there is.
And also when you are playing your music and you are so closing it, so it's hidden from the thread, but you still have it on the launcher.
Yeah.
And you can't access it with Alt-Tab.
I don't think that worked ever since it was ported to sound menu. If you don't have it pinned as a favorite, it goes away when you close the window now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but when you
because it's sound menu.
we hide it.
We don't
Let me try.
explicitly do that in the
What I mean
launcher.
says that even if the sound menu would be sufficient, for managing all of your sound applications, or Rhythmbox in particular,
Yeah.
the current way the launcher works makes keeps it so that there is going to be an icon for a certain period of time, which may create some confusion also for the user, even if it's considered, a system service.
Well, hang on. For evolution integration into the term date,
Yeah.
right? The menu is going to show your upcoming events.
Yeah.
That does not mean there's going to be an evolution item in the launcher showing that evolution is running.
No.
And we get notified of upcoming events. That's not going to be an evolution item in the launcher either. So the fact that something is running from one of these menus does not mean that there should be a launcher item in the launcher. And so I think the same thing.
There will be one as soon as there is a window associated with the application.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you go into the network menu, choose network settings, or
Exactly.
network settings icon or some sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
start
maybe
with-
we should not. Is the point you're making,
So,
which
yeah.
is also interesting.
So basically,
Well,
you have the icon. I launch with the logs. I have the icon appearing in the launcher. I play. I click on play. I click on close. The window disappears. I have the launcher disappearing. I just check that.
Yeah.
And when you try to get it back, the launcher is reappearing. Is that what we want, or right? There is a bug for you, so if you want.
That's not really a bug.
No,
that's
there
how-
is no icon matching then when recent box is
Oh, you have a
coming back.
favorite? Oh.
You have an empty icon, that's just a bug.
That's not my fault. I think that's actually Unity.
So, let's get back to the original.
Apart from that bug, it seems
Yeah.
okay to me. I mean, I don't, but I mean, I wouldn't really mind either way. I don't think the launcher behavior is
That,
influential here.
can I say something? I mean, it seems to me that one of the confusing parts is that the X does different behavior. And is there a possible, is there a possible way we could change the icon to make it more representative of what's going to happen when we hit it?
It only does different behavior if you are an engineer thinking about programs being loaded and unloaded from memory.
But
If
do
you're
you
not,
not?
it does exactly the same thing either way.
So what I hated most about BlackBerry OS is that you get penalized for applications running, and you can't tell which applications are running. And effectively, at some point, the user gets penalized for applications running. You run out of memory, you start hitting swap, they see it through other behaviors. But yet, we're not telling them that we're leaving this application running. And so, I mean, I don't want to just really change it to, be blinky and flashy or anything like that, but maybe a simple, it's an X or one cross or something like that, where it would have some subtle signal that that is actually a different behavior.
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument for X is close and minus is minimize.
Yeah, but if we just say that you are closing the front end and you still keep the service, it makes sense.
And so,
Closing the window idea, but so
But I don't think users think of applications and windows separately. They think this window is my application.
right, and the premise of this being used that they can think of them separately. But if that's wrong, then maybe this sounding integration is not so useful. But if we do want to have some way of showing that a music player is running, even when it's even when there's no window app, then
no,
it seems to me that
I don't want to show that it's running. And I think that the launcher takes care of that. I want to show that when you close it, you're not shutting it down. I think there's a difference between quit and close. Like we agreed that those should be two menu items, right?
it's not in the box.
But it would be trivial to make
But
that.
I don't think it should be. I think it should be
Like,
simplifying a term rather than making it complex.
like GN has close and quit, which are two different things, right?
That's only because it shows multiple documents. in the same window.
I think we need a way for technical users who do care about that, or advanced users to be able to know different actions. Right now, it's invisible to them.
I think it's a bit of an issue to have that in the window, because that's a window. Maybe that's something the shell could accommodate. So right now we have a window list, maybe it can show, reflect some applications that are running somehow.
So,
Well, I think it already does that, and what I was getting at is if we need to show that the application is running separately and then let people press it, then that seems to be what the launcher is for. We shouldn't invent an extra mechanism.
I wonder, I mean, if this case where you have a running application that you don't want to access from alt tab or from the menu, I mean, how relevant it is.
When we talked about it, and with a lot of users, they refer to it as get out of my face map. I don't want those windows cluttering my attention. It's an intention thing more than I think it's a I have to have this because my list is too long. I think that a lot of people manage what they're doing by what windows are open. And so I'm doing work right now because all I have open is Word. The reality is you're playing music, you're doing other things at the same time. But I've focused my attention because this is all I have. And that one window open is a symbol of that. It's not really true, but that's how they think about their desktop.
As I wanted having the inbox, in the background, instead of closing it, just having there,
I'm not saying it shouldn't do that. I'm saying that we should give them some sign that it's going to do that. So there are people who don't.
Otherwise, they're not really going to close it.
Yeah, I mean, but other people who don't. Yes.
Exactly, and that it's not closed because the music is playing.
Well, no, but I think that
If you close it, the music should stop.
Yeah, what if you close it and then you open it again from the side menu, and then you close it and you open it again from the side, and you're stuck in this infinite loop? How do I quit this application?
Yeah, we mean quit stuff.
Because it's still playing music.
Press the stop button.
But they're pressing the X.
I think that will
X
cause
is
it to stop.
yeah, this metaphor, this is going to close this, and then minimizes.
Let's close it.
No, I have this
But it doesn't.
my Android phone.
If you want to close the window, close the window. If you want to stop the music, press the stop button.
Because you start running out of resource.
Makes sense. I think it makes sense what you're saying. Just that people are not used to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think personally, if I press the X button, I would like to close the application and stop the music.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do.
Okay.
So
So yeah, all right. So at this point, we're just guessing whether it's confusing or not.
So
Uh,
is this something we should figure out at TC?
Can you summarize?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is something we need to test for. I think that's entirely right. So we're guessing at the way we use it, and guessing the way users interface with it.
We are ignoring the people on
Figure out a
our
way to talk about how people view their applications and how they view them running or not.
So that we've identified 2 or 3 different problems here. So the confusion between applications that are seen as services, which have a behavior that is consistent with them being services. The echo between application launchers in the menu and the launcher icons for applications that are not seen as services. And the third thing you were identifying, MPT, is why should the settings window have a launcher icon? Because, well, you were not confused, but...
No, I was just using it as an analogy, not as a word pattern.
But
I mean, I would be quite happy to go the other way. If it turns out that people are confused that when they close the window, music keeps playing, I'd be quite happy to say, okay, music playing is tied to the window. When the window closes, the music stops playing. If you want to keep playing music without the window, you minimize it. And that would be the alternative.
But I was thinking, in that case, you could have in the menu, some menu at the bottom, like hide.
Do not think it is a good idea to add extra quit items or hide items or anything else. I think we should be simplifying over time. Right? In iOS, you don't have close or quit.
window management is already too complex for your average user.
Yeah, so to make that clear, adding an hide or minimize option, you see that as complexifying things, which goes against the general direction and guideline of simplifying things, which is something that has been agreed upon for quite some time at the design level.
So perhaps we can have a work item to run a test on this, see
Well,
how confused people are on a scale of 0 to
we have a nice process that there is a bug. We can add tasks to the add design in the list. And get it recorded. Yeah. And we can match that.
Yeah. Okay.
As normal. Do you want to add an item also about the settings window?
For
Or not having an icon on the launcher?
What settings window?
Like when you click on sound menu, sound settings,
Yeah.
you were saying, well, why should it have a launcher icon?
Oh, well, that's nothing that's.
Oh, no. I wasn't actually referring to the sound settings, I was referring to the network settings.
Or the network settings, yeah.
But well, I don't really.
So all they have to do is mark their, so it is an interesting question because personally I think anything that is not system modal, so to speak, should show up in the window management stack on the launcher. Because if it's not, you really have no recourse for finding it if you lose it. It's just kind of gone to you. You know, I've lost many GK2, or not GK2, the
Small windows like that because you have no way to.
yeah, you just can't find them in the stack again if you have Windows open. But at the same time, application developers, or in this case, the network settings people, need only mark their windows as skip task list.
And that would create usability issues.
Well, if you
Or
mark
they
it,
would solve them.
but I'm saying that the technical solution is as simple as a single line of code. The question is the usability.
Because skip task list is exactly what we are doing for Reasonbox when you are playing music and you can close.
Right. Well, no, you're unmapping the window, aren't you?
We are mapping the window, and also we set to skip task list so that we don't have in. So that we
If you
don't
want
have
to
it
have
anymore
a-
to tray, and we don't have to alt tab.
Yeah, but
Because
I'm saying,
it's
if
for-
you completely unmap the window, like, it doesn't show up in alt tag, because there's no window.
There was still something.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that I had to skip task list.
All right, but it doesn't make a difference. But the point is that these are questions about, you know, user interaction, and can users deal with the fact that a window isn't on the isn't managed by the launcher, yet still can fall down in their stack?
They can find it by the submenu.
Because that means that they can't find it by doing spread window. They can't find it by doing,
You can find it by the sound menu if the window manager is not finding.
if it doesn't show up in the launcher, it doesn't show up in alt
It's
tab.
focus prevention. Focus team prevention.
Yeah.
So sounds like potential for creating bugs or that.
That's up to whoever specs the launcher.
Well, specs what?
The launcher.
About what?
About which kinds of windows should show up in there.
No, it's very clearly specified in free desktop specifications. There's
Not in the design specification. That's what
I mean, if you wanted to break away from free desktop.
No. Okay. Well, like for example, currently policy kit windows show up in the launcher as their own thing, which probably shouldn't happen. And
Oh, you want them associated with whatever application tried to.
but yeah, that's partly about in policy kit. But,
Yes.
it's not clear to me whether network settings should show up as its own thing, and does that mean it needs its own icon, and with
Where else would it show up? Or does it not show up?
like or to make an even more trivial example, should the shutdown dialog show up as its
So,
own?
in those cases, I would argue, no, system modal things, so to speak. I mean, we know what system modal is, right?
Well, I know that shutdown dialog is not currently.
No, it's not.
Oh, right, it used to be. So, but, I mean, my argument is that system modal things have no need to show up in the launcher, because you can't interact with the launcher anyway until you dismiss it.
Right.
But we made it non-system model on purpose.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
that it's not a sufficient criteria for keeping those windows.
So you have a usability issue the moment you start looking at non-system modal windows that don't show up in the launcher. Either they must be tied to something. So like the find dialog in the text editor. It technically doesn't show up in the launcher, but it's tied to the window, its parent window. So when you do the window spread, you can see both.
This is a subtle problem with basing switching on applications to begin with, because as time goes on, more and more windows aren't obviously associated with a particular application at all. But that's a separate issue for another time.
Okay.
So we can start maybe the record.
There's something to keep in mind is we're moving to control center to 3, I would assume. And in that case, it's, I think the network preference is going to be.
It's only applications.
It is? Okay.
Well, that's why I was assuming you're going to say so.
Oh, no, I thought it was going to be a integrated control center, in which case it'll open up you'll have control center, not network preferences.
Yeah,
I'll run on its own.
that's what I was asking.
Okay.
It would be its own application in that case, which would simplify those particular kind of things.
Yeah, but I mean, still a decision. I think for now, the right thing to do is to respect the requests of application authors. So if an application author says, no, this window is really not important enough to show on the launcher, we respect it.
So as a plan of record, we can say that we will do nothing for the messaging menu applications as it's not seen as a service. I will still link you to the bug report so that we can have a look for the discussion. So let's see to do with messaging menu applications as not seen as a desktop service. Okay. So then for Wizard Box, so small work item is just find quit to have the same behavior than the quit button, as it's not the case as of now. And so subscribe design team.
Well, it should be closed since there's no actually quitting.
I just guess.
Right.
Maybe it's closed or.
I mean, the current item says quit, but if we're going to make it the same, then it should be closed.
So
Okay,
I
so
think,
you want us to rename it to close and to work with upstream?
not to fight the general populace here, but I actually agree with MPT on how Rhythm Box should work. Yeah, I think it comes down to the Rhythm Box needs to be very fast to start out so that you don't notice it all.
It's not very fast to start.
No, it's not.
Okay,
It needs to be.
it needs to be there.
Quick question about the controls sticking around when you close it. Am I weird in wanting the album art and stuff to disappear when I stop playing? Or does anyone else share that?
So that has to do with the fact that Rhythm Box doesn't have a stop button.
Yeah.
It only has a pause button.
And this makes me crazy on my phone because it's the same deal with like Android Music there. The home screen widget, day later after playing music, the same album art is there. I wonder if that would cause an issue for people.
And actually, that brings up another interesting point. It is feasible to expect that. So a user opens Rhythm Box, starts playing music, hits the close button, and he's fully used to it just going away, and the music keeps playing. And then the user brings it up to, select a different song, and then pauses it because, I don't know, phone rings or something, and hits the close button. When he hits the play button again, he expects it to pick up where he left off.
Yes.
Especially if you're listening to like an audiobook.
Yes.
So I think this is an important thing that cannot be disconnected, and do we have that ability in Rhythm Box, which is just specified?
It's in the sounding spec, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's made its way into Rhythm Box. I assume it probably hasn't.
So you can maybe find it stressful, to say, no, it's that stuff, just pause now.
Yeah, so
In the people's minds that, there is something that is funny.
I think pause versus stop is not relevant in, Rhythm Box. There's very little functional difference.
I agree, but in people's way of thinking, it's making something and just stop as you stop as a tape. As you pause a tape, it's...
Pausing a tape is
Okay.
functionally the same thing as stopping a tape.
Yeah, a compliant player should keep playing if you close its window while it's playing, exit if you close its window while it is not playing, and remember exact state across sessions so that after you exit and relaunch, it is as if the player had never exited.
So keeping the state.
Yes.
I think that there kind of needs to be a statute of limitations.
And you laugh, but this is
No,
absolutely
no,
standard behavior for every
Yeah, I agree. I'm just thinking about. Okay.
So yeah, this is more than just paper cut.
This is a major feature implementation, and getting it standardized across Rhythmbox. Well, I mean, you could be implemented as plugins, I know, in Rhythmbox and Banshee, but I don't know.
I will discuss with both upstream, with Mailbox and Banshee, to see if we can work on that. It can be very interesting. I'm just laughing because it's not easy to do. But
Yeah, I mean, this is a pattern we should promote and encourage amongst applications in general.
So,
like if you shot well in the middle of editing a photo and then return to it, it should be exactly where you were. Saving and other applications about protecting documents.
serializing your data, right? So then I have to ask, since the support for doing this resuming of state is going to have to somehow make its way upstream, how do we feel? What's our plan of action if that doesn't happen? In other words, if upstream says no, we're not doing it.
And they pay the price to annoyed users. So it's like anything else where you suggest.
Right, but I mean, then we're presenting a fundamentally broken model. Because now there's a very big difference between closing it when it's paused and closing it when it's not paused. And this fundamentally breaks the model and breaks all the assumptions we make about the model, which is that the user doesn't care about the window, he cares about its music. You know, and so I think it's a great idea if it's working right. I think that it's a terrible idea to do half of it.
Yeah, I think we should try. I'm not. I don't know what the fallback plan would be. Just off the top of my head.
Okay. So you said you're going to get in touch with upstreams.
With Mailbox and Banshee at least, to see what can be done.
So we have Aaron Bach. Is Aaron Bach still doing Rhythmbox?
Yeah, he's still.
I mean, Banshee.
Banshee, yeah, he's still been doing Banshee.
And there's, what, only one guy in Rhythmbox?
Yeah, there is one guy, and we have good connection with him. So
With good connection.
So it's not an issue. We can argue and discuss about what it should be, and that's true that it just makes sense. I just a little bit afraid about the work there, but
Super.
okay.
And did you specify that the same playlist should be selected in the spec? Or did you?
That's just part of exact state. Yeah.
Exact state.
And so if your playlist change because you remove some file between the two sessions, you just
You have to make
reset
it
it
best
down.
ever.
Yeah, in that case, you reset. I mean, we specify this for a British software setting, for example, if you sort of, actually not for a British software setting, we deliberately forget things, but if you exit out of a, you navigate from one place to another and you go back to that previous place, it's as if you've never left. Same sort of version, same sort of text.
Oh, so we're even going down to UI state.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's achievable. Just, I think we don't want to bring that patch alone, so we should engage upstream on that. Yeah.
Yes, so we will definitely need upstream support for, so Banshee plugins, as far as I can tell, don't let you set like the scroll state, and I don't know if Rhythmbox does either.
I'm
Yeah,
just
so-
wondering about.
Perhaps add a work item for someone to write on, probably me, to write on design.canonical.com about application seriously.
Yeah, it would almost be useful to,
And maybe for Hig as well.
yeah, it'd be useful to have it there, and it'd be useful to start looking into how can we make it easier for application developers to do this.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's something to do.
Because serializing state is far from trivial.
And it really depends on the application, so.
But of course, but there are things you can provide.
Yeah,
Like,
there are lots of common element common elements across applications that are useful to know about, like scroll position for allocating text search and anything.
Yes.
Zoom level.
So, you're kind of looking at a dictionary of values kind of thing, that you need to be able to have it store for you and look back up. This is a library to be written.
You need to find library.
No. We're done with the fun names. Now we're going to go with old libserialize. I'm sure that's probably taken. Lib write to disk.
As long as you spell it C-E-R-E-A-L.
Okay, so I think we have a good track of what to do. It's just small things, but definitely we can do that for native. So thanks everyone. Let's do it now.
Okay.
Thanks to you.
Thanks, MPT.
Do we have a list of, I don't know, somebody
We have the
keeping, do we have a list of applications that are kind of high priority for getting this working with?
For the US states, okay, we should just begin with Inbox and see what happens. And
Do we,
I'm really afraid that if we want to do more for native, we can blog post and on design.chemical.com and see if upstream wants to engage. Same on this, but if we can prove on 2 applications that it's working well, yeah. Of course, we have issues with, for instance, UPnP.
with what?
UPnP, for instance, because UPnP is very slow. You are exporting your music library through UPnP. It's just a protocol so that you can share media files over your network. So I'm using it a lot with Inbox, but it's just taking maybe 1.5 minutes to scan. So if we keep the states, I don't really know what we want.
So what I would say is this, is that if the state is in such a, so if it's paused and the state is such a state that you can restore it, like for example, for example, if Rhythmbox has a Pandora, Europeans probably don't know what Pandora is. Pandora is a music streaming service, the internet, but it's like a radio. You can pause it, but every time you re-enter, you get different stuff. So, in the case of, say, Rhythmbox having a Pandora source, if you pause it, there's no way for it to return that state. So in that case, when you hit the close button, to the user it should do the same thing visually, but Rhythmbox should not actually close in that state. So
same thing when music is on the network.
Yes, it should probably be the same thing. If you're playing off a network playlist, don't actually shut down.
Okay. What do you think, Matthew?
I don't know. It seems okay.
It's just the idea of giving the application a little bit of discretion to say, I really can't restore this state. Let me stay run. I'm in a volatile state.
And what change would that make to the interface?
It would make no visual change to the interface. The only change would be that we modify the specification on how this works for applications to say that if you're in a state that's volatile, you don't have to shut down. You can do the same thing that you would normally do if you were playing.
Sure.
Somebody noted that down because I'm going to forget it in 2 minutes.
And what about network share services?
So that would be a volatile state.
Yeah. Okay. Like when it's acting as the server as well?
What?
When it's acting as the server?
Yes, that would also be a volatile state.
Yeah, I think that came up in a previous discussion where I said, well, that means that sharing service should be a separate thing.
Yeah,
It should be a separate service that you turn on immediately.
Well, yeah, running them out of process is one thing. It can be difficult to do that in a city implementations. So, but we're not going to be able to get them separated out of these separate processes in a cycle, but we can do this.
It could probably happen organically. I mean, people complaining that Rhythmbox doesn't go when the service is running. People maybe might decide to build a separate.
Yeah, there's that orange whatever thing. I don't know, citrus. I forget what it's called. What? Tangerine. Yes. orange, citric, I don't know. So yeah, this stuff can be done as an external process. It's just, I think, your average application developer, when they're going about doing it, sometimes it's easier to, you already have the data to do it in process kind of thing.
But if you can prove that with music player first,
Yeah,
you know, it
so-
will be a good. See, we can do that.
So yes. So okay, take the volatile states up.
And it's all we call we had work later.
And we should probably mention something about startup time from a cold start. In other words, Rhythmbox, it's not really okay for it to take, you know, a minute to come up on your screen.
Munchy as well.
What?
Munchy.
Okay. Click. One.
It
It
depends on the size of your, it depends on what screen, what program you're, what laptop you have, and how big your library is.
It loads the library separate, and then it loads the library. But if the window
Yeah, but the-
it starts filling in the library.
But it's almost non-responsive. In other words, you wouldn't be able to do the restoring of state until after the library is loaded.
You think it should cache the
So
library?
thank you, Matthew.
What?
Cache the library.
It needs to do something so that the restoring of state is fast enough that the user isn't sitting there
I'm
waiting.
sure if we switched to a mono music here, it would have
Exactly. Because we have serialization libraries.
like Tomboy, it's so bad. It's like lightning fast.
It's like you only have to wait 10 seconds. Well, hold on, that's 10 seconds after it shows up.
Yeah, they do that, so long as I can get it.
And then there's like the 15 seconds before it shows up.
Most of the time, we just put it as a start of the session. You know, I don't use showing the main window most of the time. Just it's okay. It's good.
It,